does look like we are not going to receive nearly what they are. Let's look at what they're receiving now.
Right now, this is WTVJ. We have been able to pick up their broadcast signal. If you will notice, they are broadcasting from what looks like a storage area of their building. They are operating out of a very old building in Miami, very close to the water. Let's listen.
Are on generator. Before we do that, do we know anything about the power? How much power is out in Broward? Muriel? Power outages, mainly out. All right, but people are still calling? I mean,
oh yeah, we just had a call, in fact, from producer Regent Dukas in Davie, and he still has power. Obviously, he called us, but he did say that very strong.
All right, you are listening to Kelly Craig, who is familiar to some of you in the Bay Area. She used to work at WTVJ. That is also Bryan Norcross sitting next to her.
Did the people, Muriel, in Broward give you an indication of how extensive power outages are in Broward County at this point? A lot of power outages, but the spotty power outages, huh?
Spotty, and people are talking about power surges.
And they're getting power surges. Well, that's the point that I was suggesting when since you are getting power surges, to turn off your circuit breakers to any machinery, like your television, like your refrigerator, like your air conditioner, because that's where you could do the damage.
So by power surges, you mean the lights are blinking
or
there'll
be half light, and then they'll be back up to normal. That's where you can do damage to expensive equipment. Go ahead and disconnect all your stereo equipment. Be sure all that stuff is off. Anything that can be damaged by that. Leave some lights on. You might as well. I mean, it can burn out some.
Sure.
So you burn out a few light bulbs, and that's what's the worst that can happen there. But that's where the damage can come in here. All right, now let's once again, for everyone listening on the radio, describe exactly where the eye is. Can you guys up there? And thank you very much for sticking with us here. Bring this full screen because it's going to help me describe a little bit. Thank you. The eye, the northern end of Elliott Key and Sands Key is in almost the center of the eye of the storm here now. Now to look at it very closely, the western end of the eye may not have quite reached the bayshore. Great, perfect. Thank you very much, Brian. May not yet have reached the bayshore, so I may have misstated that any areas of the populated areas, because obviously Elliott Key and Sands Key are not populated, right, would be seeing any clearing with the eye. But as we go south from the eye, clearly there's very, very heavy rain all through the rest of Dade County. And as we go north, there is a little bit of a lull after that intense storm, the most intense. You see the red there, Kelly?
Yes.
Just below the M. That is the most intense part of the storm, and that is affecting that South Miami, East Kendall area. Dadeland Mall, I would think, would be in that area now. And that is just about to come ashore very, very close to the National Hurricane Center, perhaps just south of the National Hurricane Center. Unfortunately, as we get close to the Hurricane Center, we don't know exactly what's going on there because that's where the radar is, and we just don't know. But you all know where the University of Miami is, so picture the University of Miami on Dixie Highway and go south, I would think, into the Kendall area, and that would be the area where the most intense part of the storm is coming ashore now. Then next, up into Coconut Grove, downtown Miami, we have a heavy area, and then a fairly light area through part of southern Broward, and then very heavy again, and not the most intense by any means, but just very heavy up in the northern portion of Broward County, Deerfield Beach and Pompano Beach. So that is right now where the situation is, and slowly, ever so slowly, the eye is approaching.
Miles across yesterday afternoon. The eye is now at 20 miles across. Now we're going to let you listen to them from WTVJ.
I wonder what has happened to our radar. We may have just lost our connection down. Oh no, I see what they're doing. Okay, what they're doing at for those of you that can view it, that is them operating the radar at the National Hurricane Center. Although they are in the core of this thing, so they may be having trouble down there.
Brian, when you think it's appropriate, we have viewers calling in, and we can actually put their questions on
the air. All right, sure.
Sharon from Sunrise, can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead and ask your question.
I was just wondering exactly how the weather was going to fare for Sunrise area. Right now, we got power outage, and there's a lot of wind, bending trees, not much rain.
All right, Sharon, the bad weather for Broward is yet to come.
Oh, great.
I take it, did you say your power was out there, so you hear this thing on the radio?
It's been out for about, I guess, a half an hour right now.
Okay. All right, well, here's the situation. The center of the storm, as we've been describing, is South Miami and points south. The Cutler Ridge would be the center of the storm. But the bad weather rotates around the storm, so that the northern part of the storm, the bad weather is still offshore, and we expect that the worst weather that's going to come to Broward County is not going to be this devastating core center. Obviously, by the way, we're having trouble with the radar out of the hurricane center. Brian Allen, if you are out there and can hear me, you want to try the other radar, just because obviously they are losing it at the hurricane center. All right, we'll just let Brian try and get the other radar going there.
Brian, we had a report here that the fire lieutenant in Hollywood was hit by another car. This was in front of the Hollywood Police Department. He is okay. He's been taken to Memorial Hospital. Apparently the people there, and this is an answer to your question to Sharon, seem to think that they're out of danger and they're on the streets. And we urge them that the weather in Broward is going to get worse.
Right. Let's continue the discussion, and maybe I'll go through it all again. The center of the storm is coming ashore at Cutler Ridge, but the bad weather rotates around the storm, and we can clearly see on our radar a lot of bad weather, and probably a couple hours of bad weather yet offshore of Broward County. As a matter of fact, weather worse than any weather that we have seen in Broward County up to this point. So no one in Broward County should in any way think this storm is over. In fact, we have hours of this to go yet. How's the radar doing? Are we close to seeing a scan on the...
Lisa Fields, one of our producers, just informed us this is her house. Is that correct, Lisa?
In Kendall,
Storm shutters have blown off, trees are down,
fences down.
fences down.
It sounds like a freight train, which was the sound that we described. It's a combination of the low rushing wind sound and the high whistling sound that you get as the wind comes between the trees. So Kendall is, we're talking, this is 104th
And Killian
and
Parkway.
Killian Parkway, okay? So this looks to me, the eye may actually, the northern end of the eye may actually eventually pass over that area.
Also, we hear from Tamarack, the power is out there, power out. Wilton Manors, however, the phones are okay there. Trees are down. Country Walk, the power is out. West Kendall, the power is out there as well. So as we had expected, it's going to be quite devastating here in the Dade County area. And again, we urge people in Broward County, as Brian said, that the bad weather is
Do not
really going to come.
think that in any way, any part of this is over. As if you were not watching us through the evening for some time here, the rear end of this storm has been the most intense part of the storm. In the 1926 hurricane that hit Miami, the more people were killed by the second half of the storm than by the first half. So in no way is the storm over. It says once you get away from the eye, there's a banding nature to the storm, but the bands will have hurricane force winds and will snap trees like that, and they'll snap them before you can move out of the way. So no one should venture out until we have some confidence that the worst of this storm has passed, and we are hours away from that. The eye has not even crossed the coast yet, so we are hours away from that happening. We're working on getting Dr. Bob Sheets here.
Well, we also...
You are listening to Brian Norcross. We're talking left to right on your screens. Brian Norcross, Kelly Craig, and Tony Segreto of WTVJ. They are bringing us the latest information, and as you can see, they are broadcasting from a storage area because the building that they are in is not a very secure building. It's in the south area of Miami, built 20, 30 years ago. As a matter of fact, it's an old movie studio that they had built years ago in Miami. And so they are broadcasting from there, and we are fortunate to have their reports because actually the weather is so severe there that I'm surprised we even have a satellite picture at all. And so we will stay with this as long as we can. This will give you an idea. And for you folks who are living on the West Coast, who appear to be in the path of this hurricane in the next 8 to 12 hours, please make sure that you have yourself secure. If you don't have your home secure by now, it's a little late probably. Get the heck out of there and just head north if you can. Unfortunately, hotels are not that numerous and that have vacancies. Many people from the Dade County area and the Broward County area have taken over these hotels all the way north to Tifton, Georgia.
Earlier we saw a lot of debris, and this is all in downtown Miami where there is a lot of construction going on down here now.
Sue from North Lauderdale is on the phone. What's your question, Sue?
I just want to thank y'all for staying on the air. Y'all have been a lifesaver.
Thank you, Sue, very much.
Thank you, Sue.
Up here, the power's been off for a little while now. I'm on the 3rd floor of an apartment complex, and I've been through a lot of the hurricanes. I'm a native, and I've never seen winds like this before. Very little rain, but...
Sue, you haven't seen it yet in Broward County. The worst part of the storm for Broward, we believe, is yet to come. So we have gotten reports out of Broward County of people thinking that it's over.
Oh, no.
And we want to absolutely stress that it is not over for Broward County. How are we doing with the radar, guys? I want to, okay.
Oh, well.
All right. This is what we want to. This is what we want to see. Okay. Now the colors are all different here because we're using Key West radar. Because it's so far away, things don't look as intense. All right. But the eye of the hurricane right now, and Sue, just stay with us here just a second so we can get to describe for you. The eye is just coming ashore there in Cutler Ridge. That very strong band of weather, the worst weather in the storm, just above the eye. In this case, it's green, but it's just because we're so far away, is coming ashore as we described in South Miami and the southern part, extreme southern part of Corvallis.
Can you hear it now?
I can hear the noise through this solid concrete wall out here, and we are not in the worst part of the storm. So imagine what's going on in that part. Maybe someone can get in their phone book here to hold of the police in South Miami and just see if by any chance we can get a hold of anybody in South Miami. It would be fascinating. But in any case, Sue, we're using the Key West radar, so we do not have good coverage in Broward, but we can see that there is rain moving in. Because we're looking from so far away here, radar just doesn't work well from this far away. So I'll tell you what we ought to do. How are we doing getting Bob sheets? Are we still working on getting?
They're efforting Bob
We're
sheets.
still trying to get Bob sheets. All right. I'll tell you what. Let's lose the radar, and Bryan Allen, who's is vital in helping us in there, is going to try and get us the Palm Beach radar where we can get it closer. I'll tell you what, Bryan, why don't you go ahead and give Miami a try first just to see if maybe they've gotten their problems worked out at the Hurricane Center. But as we saw there, they are getting the very northern fringe of the worst part of this storm. So the radar on top of that building just may not survive. That I don't know what the specifications are, but it may not survive. All right, we have the 5 a.m. advisory. The radar ball. We have no Miami radar, so we can forget the Miami radar. It fell off the building. That big ball up on top of the National Hurricane Center has fallen off, so we can forget that. So let's go. Palm Beach radar is the best we can do, Bryan. So let's try that. And we have the 5 a.m. advisory, and no doubt if things are that bad at the Hurricane Center, Bob Sheets is going to be difficult to get a hold of. So let me just read the advisory here. Hurricane warnings remaining in effect for Bimini and the northern Bahama Islands, and of course for our area too, from Vero Beach south, and for the Florida West Coast, from Venice south, and for Lake Okeechobee. Okay, now the center of Andrew, located 25.4. Boy, it has been on that line. It has not
moved
one little bit. Near Turkey Point, Florida. So the center of the storm, they are locating essentially over the Turkey Point power station down there, nuclear power station, 10 miles east of Homestead, 25 miles south of downtown Miami. Now, hurricane is moving toward the west near 18 miles per hour. We like that. It can speed up all at once now and get out of here. And they're saying the motion is expected to continue today. Maximum winds 140, some weakening likely, of course. This is what we're seeing at the National Hurricane Center.
Bryan, we want to remind the folks that we're trying to get Bob Sheets at the National Hurricane Center. You can see the picture from there now, but we're trying to talk to him one-on-one. You can see he's obviously very busy, but we would like our listeners and viewers to keep the phone line free so that he can get in touch with us. So if you would suspend your calls just momentarily until we hear from Bob Sheets.
All right, 140 miles per hour still being reported from the aircraft. A sustained wind of 115 miles per hour has occurred at the National Hurricane Center with gusts to 138. So we're talking at the University of Miami, we have had 115 mile per hour sustained winds, and according to our analysis here of the radar before it went down and also what we could see out of the Key West radar, they are probably not quite in the core of this thing. Even worse conditions no doubt were occurring just south of there in South Miami and the northern parts of Kendall. So that is clearly going to be that whole area. We'll describe it one more time, and if you guys can think of any other of those, anybody can think of any of the names of those places along the old Cutler Road down there in Coral Gables, of Gables Estates and Gables by the Sea.
Cocoa Plum.
And Cocoa Plum, and down at Matheson Hammock and the Fairchild Gardens. I can't imagine what will be left of many of those old trees that David Fairchild planted down there in the 1930s, because that is going to be in the core of the storm. At 115 mile per hour gusts at the Hurricane Center, and if we are right in south of there, then we have Palm Beach radar. Yes, absolutely, because I don't think Storm Track is going to work anymore.
All right, you are listening to the broadcast of WTVJ, Channel 4, the NBC affiliate in Miami.
Brian, I am told that Bob Wood, the producer with Channel 4, is standing by at the National Hurricane Center. Bob?
Hi, how are you?
All right, we're okay. How are you doing there?
It's a real interesting morning, Brian. I got to tell you, this building, I've been in earthquakes in California. That's what this building feels like right now.
All right, Bob, we just got our radar back here, so let me, for the people on the radio, describe where the intense part of the storm is.
The intense part of the storm still appears to be offshore. And it's about Mid-Dade County from what I'm seeing, but see, I'm seeing an old picture. I'm seeing an old loop.
Well, we have
You have Palm Beach radar because what we think has happened, there was a tremendous, I don't know how to describe it. It almost sounded like a brick wall hit this building, and
All right, we lost the signal at WTVJ temporarily. We were listening to a producer who is at the National Hurricane Center speaking to Bryan Norcross, Kelly Craig, and Tony Segreto of WTVJ.
Seriously wrong.
You saw it, we felt it. I mean, there was an audible gasp in this room when that thing happened.
Well, then let me tell you.
You tell me where it is.
I'll tell you, and you can pass it along to the folks there if you do not have access to Palm Beach radar.
Okay.
The eye of the hurricane is smack over Biscayne Bay at this moment, is just coming ashore in Cutler Ridge. And the area, the northern side of the eye, is the best that we can analyze it here. You seem to be just immediately north of the core of winds that obviously exceed 115 miles per hour because you recorded 115. Right. We believe that core of winds is south of you in South Miami and Gables Estates, and maybe down.
So it's even worse there. I have Dr. Sheets here right now. He's come over, and I'm going to turn the phone over to him right now.
I'd like to leave this radar up, please. This is the most important thing, and as we get Dr. Sheets on the phone.
Hey, Brian.
Hi, Bob. We were watching as apparently you lost the radar.
Yes, we're right in the eye wall right now, and we had a gust of 152 on our roof. We're getting sustained somewhere around 115 to 120.
All right, I can tell you, and I don't know if you were watching the radar in detail, the live radar at the moment that happened, but of course we can locate you exactly with our radar sweep.
Right.
And based on what we were seeing, of course there is some ground clutter involved, you appeared to be at the very northern edge of the eye wall.
Right, we're right in the eye wall there. We've got our other radars working, our Doppler radar out of the Cape. Yeah, we're watching that. We still have that operating, but we've had to shut down some of our equipment. Of course, then our radar went out. And the building is shaking right now, as a matter of fact.
Is that right? Well, the band, a core band of winds that we've talked about.
Yes.
And that yellow band that we've talked about, you appear to be at the very top of that band.
Yeah.
And it extends down through South Miami and into Kendall.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of damage taking place out there right now.
Because the eye of the storm, as we're looking at it right now, is just coming ashore at Cutler Ridge. I'm looking at a live West Palm Beach radar. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if do you have access to that now?
No, we don't. How precise that'll be from there, you know, you may be off 3 or 4
maybe off
miles.
a little bit, although
Yeah.
I can tell you that we switched over immediately and it agreed very, very closely with the Miami radar before it went out.
Okay.
So, I mean, the same, because we use exactly the same base map here. Mm-hmm. So, the lineup seems to be perfect, although for some reason the eye does seem to be a little smaller. But I think that I can fairly assuredly tell you that. The other thing I can tell you out of the West Palm Beach radar is that there is a very intense, and maybe you can see this out of Melbourne too, intense line band about to come into Broward County, into northern Broward County.
Yes.
And we're getting reports in Broward County of people thinking.
Right, well.
and we want to assure them that they're not.
Okay.
All right. If you don't have anything to add, I'm sure it's frantic there, and we'll just let you go. Is there anything that you want to go ahead and say? Because we are still on the air on television and radio, and I understand we are one of the few outlets that is on the air.
Well, the main thing here, Brian, is the fact that we were a little surprised at how the winds were not increasing, but once that eye wall got here, it's extremely strong, and so those people looking over into the Kendall area and right on west and even into Everglades City and those regions over there.
All right, we have lost, okay, we've got their signal back again. Let me, if you've just turned on the TV, we are listening to Bryan Norcross of WTVJ talk to on the phone Bob Sheets.